This is the first time the government is addressing a very grave concern facing the Malaysian economy, and that's income inequality. Income inequality is increasingly a concern in most economies over the years. Now, Malaysia's income inequality, which is measured in terms of what you call a Gini coefficient, and Malaysia's Gini coefficient is about the highest in the region. The second finance minister has gone on record to say that. So, when you look at it, and they say that 40% of the working population is earning less than 1,005 ringgit a month. That is a concern. It's always good to say we have our GDP growth X%, but if it's not spread out and you're taking averages, that creates a really serious problem. So I look at this tax rates at the higher upper level as a first move towards that. BRIM is the other side of it. What economics call redistribution. That's the redistribution taking place. It's no point to say our GDP is growing high when the disparity in income is great.
But the issue is then the income bands that we have. How fast do you move to the next income level? 20%, 22, 23. How quickly do you do that? And last year they restructured this. In fact, last few years they restructured this and made the bands wider. That means previously it could be 5,000, 10,000 or 20,000. You earn extra, you move to the next bracket, right? They made that a little bit wider, and that was a step in the direction of making it more, in a way, similar in some ways to Singapore. Singapore has large bands. If you want to make what they call income distribution, right, as between that's the whole idea of a progressivity of taxes, is that the rich pay more and the not so rich pay less, all right? That's correct. That's embedded in our system. But is it progressive enough in terms of making sure that the wealthy pay more, much more than the middle income and so on? So I think it's an argument in terms of how far can you stretch those rates. You also get concerned about the fact that we are chasing a target for 2020. And that target is to be a high-income nation. In reality, the point will be, do the majority of our population earn a reasonable wage or salary? And I think if we continue to have a situation where we have to keep giving out BRIM to the low-income level, it's 5.9 billion in payments going to go out in BRIM, that sends a very strange message to me that only within 5 years to go, and we still have a significant part of our population which is in the lower income category, right? So that added to the fact that's mentioned earlier about the income inequality. Question for us is to consider how long BRIM is going to go on. You need to look at targeted approaches. I think the idea in Malaysian economy is also productivity, and getting the not so high income earners to innovate, to get into cottage industries, get more into doing a business so that they can earn a better living. And that's the challenge of who is monitoring this, how closely is this monitored, are we seeing results, and all that. So I'm sure ministries do what they have to do, but I think the public doesn't really know the outcome of all these other approaches in terms of the allocations, the funds that are given out, and what is the result?
The concept of BRIM is also quite interesting. It's not only in Malaysia that's introduced it. Yeah. Indonesia has introduced it.
Singapore did it when they introduced GST.
Well, that is to compensate.
More to help,
yeah.
but not continuous.
Yeah.
I mean, they are stopping now.
Yeah. They don't have a cash offset every year. You should look at BRIM together also with minimum wage. Yeah. I mean, as the minimum wage goes up, then the need for BRIM no longer, it becomes less relevant. We are all not aware from the ministry's point of view what exactly is the whole picture. How are you monitoring the whole mechanism, And so BRIM helps to meet cost of living issues. Like this year, And after GST and all that, it makes sense. But you must understand, is the minimum wage enough? Right? Increased by 120, still not. Minimum wage here, the issue is Malaysia cannot increase the minimum wage suddenly and make it a bit higher. The issue is the businesses will complain, and they're already complaining anyway, because they end up having to incur more costs, right? So it affects the businesses' profits. There are many little measures introduced, but you're not sure how this is all ending up in terms of the solution. Because on the other hand, you hear of businesses wanting to bring in more foreign workers. You hear of ministers suddenly saying all this, and then you have all these issues that come. So because our ministries do not seem to be talking to each other, and every ministry is like a government of its own, that's the tendency. You know, if you're not cohesive enough, you have a problem.
You see, income inequality, it's a very difficult issue. It goes across the board. How do you raise, if you have 40% of the working population earning 1,500 ringgit, right? And your purchasing power parity is so low, right? You have a problem. It goes down to your education system. Why is that our workers are not able to earn more? If our workers are productive, if we pay them less, they can always go somewhere else to earn more. So it's the productivity. And it goes back to education system, how the emphasis on technology, science and technology and maths and so on. It's a more difficult issue. That's why politicians don't talk about it. You can see that someone who has already made some money will become richer and richer. So if you depend on your labor, you're not going to increase your wealth at the same rate. That's a basic problem. It's higher than Indonesia, higher than Thailand.